The void of space trembled with a silent promise as an armada of gleaming vessels emerged on the edge of perception, their forms sleek and purposeful against the infinite darkness. In the cold expanse of the cosmos, these colossal crafts advanced with an unyielding confidence, each vessel a testament to technology honed far beyond Earth's understanding. The air of arrogance they carried was palpable, as if the very fabric of destiny had been rewritten to favor their inevitable conquest. Every beam of light that caressed their metallic surfaces spoke of a certainty that bordered on divine right, a certainty that would soon face a challenge unforeseen by those who dare call themselves invincible. On Earth, a quiet resilience stirred beneath the surface of everyday life. Amid the familiar hum of bustling cities and the gentle cadence of nature, a collective spirit lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. There was no singular hero in these moments, no face of defiance. Rather, it was an unspoken unity that pulsed through every corner of the planet. From the wind-swept deserts to the deepest forests, the land itself bore witness to the undying perseverance of its inhabitants. In the silent watch of night, under a tapestry of stars, humanity sensed a shift in destiny. It was as though the earth whispered ancient secrets, hinting that strength often resided where least expected, waiting to be unleashed in the face of overwhelming adversity. The alien force, so self-assured in its superiority, carried with it a history of conquest and a legacy built on the exploitation of lesser worlds. Their arrival was not a matter of chance, but a calculated maneuver, driven by a belief in their own unparalleled power. Every detail of their design was engineered for domination, every strategy meticulously planned to erase the resistance of any who might stand in their way. Their technology was a marvel, an intricate dance of energy and precision that had been refined over millennia. Yet, within this display of might lay a dangerous flaw, a profound underestimation of what it meant to be truly alive. The invincibility they wore like a badge was, in fact, the very seed of their eventual undoing, for no force, however advanced, could predict the chaos of life in all its messy, unpredictable glory. In the midst of their relentless advance, there began to stir an undercurrent of anomalies, subtle disruptions that defied logic and expectation. The very fabric of Earth seemed to respond in kind, as if the planet had long harbored a secret weapon, one that was not bound by circuits or algorithms, but by the raw pulse of nature itself. Whispers of unusual phenomena spread quietly among those who observed from afar, strange electromagnetic pulses that rendered even the most sophisticated devices momentarily inert, natural disturbances that redirected the paths of these mighty vessels away from their intended course. It was as though Earth was calling forth its own ancient power, a reminder that beneath the veneer of civilization lay a force as old as time, capable of toppling even those who believed themselves to be eternal. The initial signs of resistance were not born of human armies or organized rebellions, but from the very heartbeat of the planet, rising up in defiance of the intruder's calculated perfection. As the armada descended with an air of inevitable conquest, a profound tension enveloped the world, a tension that spoke to the nature of invincibility itself. The so-called unstoppable force had met its first challenge not on the battlefield, but in the quiet, unyielding spirit of Earth. Every gust of wind, every trembling leaf, every ripple on the surface of the water carried the silent message that the true strength of this world was woven from its imperfections. It was in these subtle moments, the understated defiance of nature, that the first cracks appear in the aliens' grand design. The arrogance of the invaders, so deeply embedded in their every action, began to waver in the face of an enemy that did not conform to predictable rules of conquest. In the shadows of the perceived omnipotence, doubt seeped in like a silent intruder, hinting at a future where the unexpected could overturn the balance of power. The horizon shimmered with the promise of a coming storm, a storm not of fire or lightning, but human resolve in nature's relentless fury. Beneath the surface of fear, there was an emerging realization that true invincibility was not defined by technological supremacy or the cold logic of advanced warfare, but by the capacity to adapt, to fight with every sinew of determination, and to find strength in unity. The quiet moments before the storm carried an almost sacred weight, as if the planet itself was preparing to reclaim its birthright. In the depths of uncertainty, every silent prayer and every unspoken promise converged into a single, resonant truth, that even the most formidable foe could be challenged by the unpredictable force of life. In that pregnant pause before chaos erupted, The planet seemed to hold its breath. The silent anticipation was a collective heartbeat, a pulse shared by every living being who dared to hope, who dared to believe that there was more to strength than meets the eye. The invaders, with all their confidence and certainty, had not accounted for the intricate tapestry of life that thrived on Earth. Their assumption of superiority was a brittle shell, one that could shatter under the strain of the unexpected. The destiny of the planet was being rewritten in real time, each moment a subtle rebuke to the notion that power was absolute. It was a reckoning, not of violence or destruction, but a quiet persistence that defines the human spirit. A spirit that, even in the face of impending doom, found a way to endure and to resist. In the waning light of an uncertain day, a quiet question echoed across the silent landscapes and into the depths of every heart. What truly defines invincibility? It was a question that carried with it the weight of countless generations, a challenge to every force that believed itself unassailable. The answer, though whispered softly, was clear, a truth that lay not in perfection of design or the might of a single being, but in the unpredictable, boundless creativity of life itself. As the alien armada loomed ever closer, the world prepared itself for a confrontation that would test every fiber of its being, a confrontation that promised to upend the very notions of power and dominance. In that fleeting moment before the first clash, the stage was set for a struggle that would reveal the hidden depths of a seemingly ordinary world. A world that was anything but ordinary. The arrival of the invaders marked the beginning of a relentless barrage that shook the foundations of human order. In the blink of an eye, the alien force descended upon Earth with precision that left no room for error. Their weapons and technology unleashed in a torrent of devastating energy. The once familiar skylines were suddenly bathed in harsh, unyielding light, as beams of power reduced sturdy structures to fragments of smoke and debris. There was no grand introduction or fanfare, only the raw, uncompromising demonstration of strength that spoke volumes of their intent. The precision with which these weapons were deployed was almost surgical, a calculated effort to dismantle any semblance of resistance before it could even form. The initial impact was as much psychological as it was physical. Across cities and countryside alike, chaos reigned. Ordinary citizens, previously engaged in the rhythms of everyday life, found themselves thrust into a maelstrom of confusion and dread. The shock was palpable, a collective, instinctive reaction that left people scrambling for cover, their hearts pounding in rhythm with the unceasing drumbeat of destruction. In the midst of this upheaval, it was evident that the established order had crumbled. Institutions that once promised protection now faltered, overwhelmed by an enemy whose methods defied every known law of warfare. The palpable terror was countered by a rising, unspoken urgency, a shared understanding that every moment of hesitation could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Amidst the turmoil, the spark of resistance began to kindle in the most unexpected places. Far from the glaring spotlight of conventional warfare, ordinary men and women emerged as unsung architects of defiance. In quiet neighborhoods and dimly lit basements, small groups huddled together, pooling their knowledge and resources in a desperate bid to turn the tide. Without a central command or a recognized leader, these scattered cells of insurgents communicated through covert channels. Whispers of hope and determination passed silently from one to another. Their methods were improvised but effective, drawing on local ingenuity to fashion defenses from whatever scraps of technology and material could be salvaged. It was an organic, grassroots uprising that challenged the notion that only the mighty could dictate the fate of nations. Even as the alien juggernaut pressed forward, cracks began to appear in their seemingly impregnable facade. In the midst of their systematic advance, inexplicable anomalies emerged, brief lapses in their technology that provided fleeting moments of vulnerability. Critical communication arrays faltered under the strain of unforeseen interference, and the precision of their weaponry was occasionally marred by sporadic malfunctions. These lapses, though isolated at first, signaled the beginning of an erosion in the confidence that had so long been their strength. The invaders, so accustomed to predictable rhythms of their own design, found themselves increasingly unsettled by the erratic nature of Earth itself, a planet that defied the order they had taken for granted. With every disruption, the resolve of Earth's defenders grew stronger. The initial shock gave way to a determined, measured response that was as varied as it was spontaneous. in suburban neighborhoods, industrial districts, and rural hideaways alike. Disparate groups discovered that their local knowledge of the land could be transformed into a weapon against a technologically superior foe. Makeshift defenses were constructed with ingenuity that bordered on brilliance, using the natural terrain as both shield and advantage. There was no dramatic rallying cry. Instead, there was an unspoken acknowledgement that every improvised act of resistance was a small victory against a force that had assumed complete dominion. Each moment of alien error, each brief window of operational failure, was seized upon by these resourceful groups as a chance to strike back, even if only in minor, seemingly inconsequential ways. The impact of these early acts of rebellion rippled outward, challenging the narrative that the invaders were an unstoppable force. The quiet defiance of a single town, the cunning adaptation of a rural community, or the clandestine efforts of an urban collective. All these acts wove together into a broader tapestry of resistance. It was not a battle of grand armies, but rather a collision of wills, where the unpredictable energy of humanity clashed with the cold, calculated precision of alien technology. In every disrupted command, every momentary lapse in the invaders' coordinated assault, the myth of their invincibility was gradually eroded. The early failures of their sophisticated machinery were not mere technical glitches. They were harbingers of profound truth that no amount of technological superiority could permanently suppress the adaptive spirit of a united people. As the hours turned into a protracted struggle, the initial shock of the assault gave way to a growing, almost imperceptible shift in momentum. The invaders, having relied on their overwhelming display of power to secure a swift victory, now face a reality where every miscalculation was a call to arms for those who had once felt helpless. The world, though fractured and scarred by the initial onslaught, was now witnessing the emergence of resistance that was as diverse as it was determined. It was a collective effort born of necessity, a silent rebellion that spread like wildfire, ignited by the smallest of sparks and fanned by an innate human desire to fight for freedom. In the chaos of disrupted lines and malfunctioning systems, a countercurrent of human resolve began to crystallize. The invaders' inability to fully control the environment became a liability that the scattered pockets of resistance were quick to exploit. They adapted quickly, repurposing the very elements that had been used against them, and turning natural terrain into strategic advantages. Every valley, every ridge, and every urban labyrinth offered a potential hideout, a place where the alien onslaught could be momentarily stymied by the unpredictable pulse of nature. The invaders' rigid systems, designed to operate in a controlled environment, were ill-equipped to manage the capriciousness of a world that was determined not to yield without a fight. This evolving dynamic instilled a creeping sense of doubt within the alien ranks. Their advanced systems, built on the assumption of an orderly conquest, were now besieged by the chaos of an organic world. The alien command struggled to recalibrate in real time as unexpected interferences and the decentralized nature of human resistance undermined their strategies. Each malfunction, each brief disruption in the alien formation, served as an affirmation that even the most meticulously planned invasion could be subverted by the sheer force of human adaptability. The invincibility they had once taken for granted was now in question, eroded by the very unpredictability that defined Earth. As the struggle continued, the air was filled not just with the sounds of conflict, but with a resonant, unyielding pulse of determination. Every moment of alien error was met with a calculated, often improvised human response, a countermeasure that was as creative as it was effective. The chaotic symphony of resistance was a testament to the fact that true strength is not measured solely in precision of technology or the might of an empire, but in the enduring spirit of those who refuse to submit. The alien force, whose every advance had been designed to crush opposition, now found itself ensnared in the complexities of a battle that defied logic and order. In this maelstrom of energy and defiance, the early failures of the invaders began to paint a picture of a shifting balance. The calculated assaults that had once seemed unstoppable were now punctuated by moments of vulnerability, a brief lapse in their technological armor, a miscalculated burst of energy that left a gap in their formation. These were the moments that the resistance clung to, the instances where human ingenuity was able to reclaim a fraction of the stolen ground. With every act of defiance, the illusion of alien supremacy was chipped away, revealing a truth that had been simmering beneath the surface. that the true power lay not in domination, but in the unyielding, adaptive resilience of humanity. The struggle was far from over, yet in those first tumultuous hours, the seeds of a widespread, coordinated resistance had been sown. The invaders' grand display of power had inadvertently sparked a movement, one that would grow from isolated acts of rebellion into a unified front capable of challenging an empire. Each disrupted command and each moment of alien hesitation fed the fire of resistance, transforming initial shock into a sustained, collective effort to reclaim what had been taken. In this relentless contest, every human action, no matter how small, became a step toward overturning the established order, a step toward proving that no force, however technologically advanced, could extinguish the spark of human ingenuity and determination. In the midst of chaos and ruin, the spark of human ingenuity began to glow like a beacon in the darkness. As the alien machines advanced relentlessly across scarred landscapes, pockets of resistance emerged where hope had nearly faded. In hidden laboratories, remote bunkers, and abandoned industrial sites, ordinary people with extraordinary determination pieced together countermeasures that defied the enemy's logic. Ideas were born not from a centralized command, but from the instinctive need to survive and overcome. Engineers repurposed discarded technology. Chemists extracted vital compounds from everyday materials, and hackers infiltrated the invaders' communication networks with precision that bordered on brilliance. Every innovation was a calculated risk, a desperate bet that the enemy's technological superiority was not absolute. In whisper exchanges over covert channels, plans took shape with a raw clarity: disrupt the invaders, confuse their systems, and reclaim the planet by turning their own strengths into fatal weaknesses. Each breakthrough, however modest, was a defiant declaration that the creative spirit of humanity could flourish even under the most oppressive conditions. As scattered resistance groups began to coalesce, the power of unity transformed isolated acts of defiance into a formidable movement. Across cities and remote hamlets, strategic plans were drafted with an urgency that mirrored the pulse of survival. Information technology and tactics were shared swiftly and decisively, uniting disparate cells into a coordinated force. While the invaders clung to rigid, pre-programmed routines, the human countermeasures were fluid and adaptable, shifting in real time to exploit every vulnerability. Guerrilla networks emerged to disrupt enemy supply lines, and communication hubs transmitted encrypted messages that allowed local fighters to synchronize their actions. Engineers and strategists, working side by side with soldiers and civilians, devised elaborate traps and diversions that played on the aliens' overconfidence. Cyber operations crippled critical command centers, creating cascading failures throughout the enemy's hierarchy. Every intercepted transmission and every tactical adjustment was a small but vital victory, reinforcing the unshakable belief that ingenuity and collective action could counter even the most overwhelming force. Amid the turmoil, the battlefield itself became a canvas for the unpredictable energy of human resistance. In narrow urban alleys and across rugged natural hideaways, coordinated strikes unfolded with precision that belied the chaos of war. When an enemy patrol moved through a desolate suburb, a prearranged ambush halted their progress in a matter of moments, forcing the invaders to retreat in confusion. In another calculated move, saboteurs infiltrated a key energy conduit, causing a sudden blackout that sent shockwaves through the alien technological grid. The human response was marked by swift improvisation, a seamless blend of calculated aggression and adaptive strategy. Each encounter, whether a quick skirmish or sustained clash, chipped away at the aura of invincibility the aliens once boasted. The rhythm of battle was redefined by a series of decisive actions that exploited the enemy's rigidity, demonstrating that even the most advanced weaponry could be countered by the resourcefulness of a people united in purpose. Parallel to the physical confrontations, a subtler yet equally potent psychological war was unfolding. The resistance deliberately sowed seeds of doubt within the enemy's ranks through a series of misdirections and decoys. Carefully engineered false signals and staged operational errors manipulated the aliens' perception of reality, forcing their commanders to question every decision. The invaders, programmed to operate with unerring precision, were caught off guard by an enemy that embraced unpredictability. Every feint and every ploy disrupted the invaders' calculated strategies, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty that spread like wildfire through their ranks. The psychological impact was profound. The very belief in their own supremacy began to crumble as the invaders found themselves ensnared in a labyrinth of human ingenuity. By exploiting their reliance on predictable patterns, the resistance transformed every tactical deception into a weapon that undermined the enemy's confidence and eroded their will to press forward. This battle of wits proved that the human mind, flexible and inventive, could dismantle even the most sophisticated systems when given the chance. All these efforts converged toward a critical turning point, a moment when every sacrifice, every ingenious tactic, and every act of defiance crystallized into a united front poised for a final monumental clash. The coordinated actions of countless individuals, once isolated and desperate, had become a synchronized surge of hope and determination. In that tense, charged moment, the enemy faced a force that was no longer merely reactive but offensively adaptive, a living embodiment of humanity's unyielding spirit. The resistance had evolved from fragmented struggles into a coherent strategy that threatened to dismantle the alien regime from within. Every improvised weapon, every calculated ambush, and every act of psychological warfare reinforced a singular, inescapable truth. Human resolve was an unpredictable, unstoppable force. The invaders' once impenetrable armor of certainty now flickered under the relentless barrage of ingenuity, and the scales of power began to tip in favor of those who refused to be subdued. In that decisive juncture, as both sides steeled themselves for the inevitable collision, the air itself seemed charged with the promise of retribution and renewal. The enemy's advanced systems, once symbols of unchallenged superiority, now wavered under the weight of human creativity and tactical brilliance. The convergence of coordinated strikes, psychological subterfuge, and adaptive countermeasures forged an unbreakable shield around the resistance, a barrier that the invaders had never anticipated. Every element of this new offensive was a testament to the fact that the human capacity for innovation could not be contained by even the most overwhelming force. In that single electrifying moment, the truth of Earth's resilience shone through. What the invaders had mistaken for weakness was, in fact, the collective power of humanity, a force that could rewrite destiny and redefine what it meant to be invincible. The promise of final, sweeping confrontation hovered on the horizon, ready to shatter the illusions of dominance and usher in a new era defined not by conquest, but by the unyielding spirit of those who dare to stand up and fight. The final clash erupted with an intensity that defied all previous expectations. As the human spirit converged in one decisive moment, every improvised weapon, every cunning tactic, and every whispered plan coalesced into a singular force that challenged the invaders' arrogant belief in their own invincibility. The once unassailable enemy, relying on technology and unyielding order, found themselves besieged by a torrent of human resolve that was as relentless as it was unpredictable. In this ultimate confrontation, humanity unleashed a barrage of ingenuity that shattered the illusion of certainty. Advanced systems faltered under the strain of nature's wild unpredictability, and meticulously crafted strategies of the alien command crumbled in the face of coordinated human countermeasures. In the clash of steel and energy, the invaders' towering confidence was dismantled piece by piece, revealing the inherent flaw in a force that had underestimated the raw power of collective human determination. As the tide of battle turned, the invaders' once impenetrable armor began to fracture, their technological marvels reduced to chaos by the unpredictable rhythms of Earth itself. Their central command, designed to orchestrate flawless conquests, succumbed to a series of cascading failures, each malfunction amplifying the doubt among their ranks. The once unassailable lines of communication were severed by relentless human ingenuity, and the alien hierarchy, built on rigid protocols, buckled under the pressure of rapid, adaptive strikes. Every calculated misstep and every fleeting moment of vulnerability was exploited by a resistance that had evolved from scattered acts of defiance into a unified and adaptive network. In this unraveling of what was thought to be a perfect system, the myth of invincibility was laid bare, exposing a force that had been blinded by its own overconfidence. The collapse of the alien edifice was not marked by a single event, but by a cascade of errors, a relentless series of disruptions that turned the tide irrevocably in favor of humanity. In the aftermath of this monumental struggle, a reflective calm settled over the battered landscapes of Earth, offering a moment to contemplate the profound victory achieved not by a solitary hero, but by the united efforts of countless souls. The silence that followed was imbued with the weight of sacrifice, of dreams deferred yet ultimately redeemed by a collective will. Every life lost, every challenge surmounted, and every moment of despair converged into a singular triumph that redefined what it meant to be invincible. The realization dawned that true strength was not measured by raw power or technological superiority, but by the resilience inherent in the human spirit. A spirit that thrives on imperfection, adapts to unforeseen challenges, and forges unity in the face of overwhelming adversity. In that quiet interlude, the lessons of the battle resonated deeply, that the unpredictability of life, with all its flaws and spontaneous brilliance, was the ultimate source of power, capable of toppling even the most formidable oppressors. In the wake of conflict, the process of rebuilding began with a deliberate, almost sacred focus on renewal and healing. Across cities scarred by the remnants of war and rural expanses that had borne the brunt of the assault, communities gathered to reclaim their heritage and reshape their future. The physical destruction served as a stark reminder of the cost of oppression, yet it also galvanized a spirit of collective reconstruction that was as vibrant as it was resolute. In the rubble of what had been, signs of rebirth emerged, green shoots breaking through cracked earth, innovative structures rising from the ruins, and a renewed commitment to harnessing technology for the betterment of all. The human capacity to adapt and transform adversity into opportunity shone brightly in these moments, as architects, engineers, and everyday citizens worked side by side to restore not only buildings and infrastructure, but also the soul of a planet that had nearly been silenced. This rebirth was a living testament to the enduring vitality of humanity, a promise that from the deepest wounds, beauty and strength could emerge anew. In the enduring glow of victory, an inspiring truth resonated throughout the reclaimed world, a truth that celebrated the unique and indomitable nature of humanity. The final words of this epic confrontation were not etched in the scars of battle, but in the hearts of those who had dared to believe that even the mightiest force could be humbled by the unpredictable, creative pulse of life. As the survivors looked to a future defined by resilience rather than despair, they embraced a legacy of the struggle, a legacy that celebrated every flaw and every imperfection as an essential part of what made them unstoppable. It was a legacy that redefined invincibility, not as an unyielding shield of technology or brute force, but as a living, breathing testament to human creativity, collaboration, and hope. In that moment of reflective triumph, the voice of the planet itself seemed to whisper an eternal promise that no matter how dire the challenge, the human spirit will always rise, adapt, and prevail. This was the true essence of victory, the unassailable, ever-evolving power of a people united by the belief that every setback is merely the prologue to an even greater resurgence.